Back at Fortress 1, Lin Moyu put on the mask again and took on the appearance of red fire. Zhu Qiwu looked amused. You kid, are you sometimes afraid? Lin Moyu shook his head. To be precise, I'm afraid of trouble. It seems that this concealment mask is quite familiar. That's good. Sometimes you really have to be a little cooler and don't show your face easily. Keeping it a bit mysterious will do you good. Lin Moyu nodded. I understand. Zhu Qiwu chuckled. Are you doing it again? I'll keep it a mystery. You can help me publicize it and make my deeds public, so that I can gain more power of faith. Lin Moyu expressed his thoughts. Zhu Qiwu was non-committal, neither admitting nor refuting. Lin Moyu knew he was right. This is the case in the world. The more low-key and aloof you are, the more others will think you are mysterious enough and they will admire you. When all the information about you is exposed, it will be counterproductive. Zhu Qiwu took Lin Moyu to the core of the fortress. The war was concentrated in the area of 5, 6, 7, and 8 fortresses. Fortress 1 was located on the edge and was not affected. Just in accordance with wartime requirements, the defense force was increased. Outside the fortress, there were several large armies patrolling continuously. A warning formation has also been activated in the fortress. As long as an enemy approaches, it will be sensed immediately. At the core, Kuyuan Jun had received a letter from Zhu Qiwu early on, and had been waiting for a long time. Although the entire operation was dictated by Lin Moyu, it still had to be judged by the internet. Lin Moyu's record of killing enemies is in the battlefield token, and Renhuang Network will automatically review it, and then calculate the corresponding military merits. If it is true as what Lin Moyu said, Lin Moyu has contributed a lot to this operation and his military achievements are astonishing. Not to mention anything else, just killing the 3 gods is the great emperor's military merit. Kuyuan Jun led the 2 of them through the fortress and came to the center of the fortress. Lin Moyu has been here once before and is no stranger to it. In the center of the fortress, there is a huge round table that is more than 10 meters long and can seat many people. Zhu Qiwu walked to the seat and sat down naturally, and said to Kuyuan Jun, let's activate the formation. Kuyuan Jun hummed and waved a rune. The complex and mysterious runes shone brightly in the room, and quickly grew bigger and fell on the table. In the center of the table suddenly appeared a law, and then a huge jade ball with a diameter of more than 1 meter rose from under the stage. The jade ball shone brightly, and a large number of runes also appeared on it. At this moment, Lin Moyu felt that the atmosphere of Renhuang Network became stronger. Although the Emperor's network covers Fortress 1, its strength is far inferior to that of when in the Terran starfield. The different strengths also represent the different capabilities of Renhuang Network. In Fortress 1, Renhuang Network can only maintain some of the most basic functions. In Fortress 1, Lin Moyu cannot enter the virtual world of Renhuang Network at any time, and cannot go to Renhuang's training ground. Only in some special circumstances will Renhuang Network concentrate on strengthening its efforts and enable some unnecessary functions. For example, the last time Lin Moyu competed with someone in the ring, Renhuang Network strengthened its power and provide a virtual world for watching. But again, the price is to collect points, and there is a price for improving strength. But at this moment, Lin Moyu had the illusion of returning to the human star domain, and the power of the human emperor network became very powerful. Obviously, this also comes at a cost. The operation of the entire formation will consume the energy in the fortress. It's just this kind of consumption the fortress can afford. Zhu Qiwu said, put your battlefield cards in. Lin Moyu followed the instructions and put the battlefield cards on the table. The formation flew to the center holding the battlefield card, and then a beam of light shone directly on the battlefield card. The formation began to operate, and the battlefield was illuminated. Immediately afterwards, a 3-dimensional picture was projected onto the desktop. A strange star appeared on the screen. This is the strange star in Area 8-88. Lin Moyu was slightly taken aback. He even saw himself on a strange star. I didn't expect the battlefield card to have such a function. It actually recorded the surrounding images, which is the same function as the photo stone. The battlefield cards seemed to contain quite a few secrets. At this time, Zhu Qiwu laughed and said, "Don't guess. The battlefield card does not have the function of recording images, it can only record some basic information. What you see is the picture rededuced by Renhuang network based on these basic information." Lin Moyu suddenly realized that this was actually the case. It's no wonder that the purpose of strengthening the Renhuang network is to let the Renhuang network do this kind of thing. According to the basic information, rededucting the screen and restoring the entire battle requires a huge amount of power. In the picture, strange stars are shining, and then there is no more, just shining. Lin Moyu realized that what Zhu Qiwu said was right, the battlefield card records were just some basic information. Renhuang network deduces the scene at that time based on these basic information. But it is only a picture. It is impossible for Renhuang network to deduce the real changes of the strange stars. At the same time, it is impossible for Renhuang network to know what opportunity Lin Moyu got. In the picture, the strange stars are shining, and the breath of Lin Moyu on the stars is gradually getting stronger, and the realm is improving. The screen is fast-forwarded, a day is only a few minutes here, and Lin Moyu has reached the second level of God King in a few minutes. The battlefield card records Lin Moyu's upgrade, but it is not known how he upgraded. Renhuang network doesn't know, but Zhu Qiwu knows. "Boy Lin, you have gained a lot of benefits from the strange stars." Lin Moyu said, "I have realized something, you should have checked my records in the Suzaku starfield. There is also such a star in the Suzaku starfield. I reported it at that time." Zhu Qiwu did check it. Lin Moyu was indeed in the Suzaku star field at that time, relying on strange stars to improve his realm. 10 minutes later, Lin Moyu's realm improved again, reaching the third rank of God King. At this time, the demonic coalition forces arrived on the screen. 9 of the top 10 people on the reward list came, the allied forces, and 3 gods. Ku Yuanjun frowned slightly. He felt a headache just by looking at this kind of scene. Although the cultivation of the 3 gods was far inferior to him, he substituted himself into Lin Moyu. If he responded with the ability of the 3rd level of the God King, he would definitely die. Moreover, the void is locked, the teleportation props are invalid, and you can't escape even if you want to escape. He didn't know how Lin Moyu responded and how to fight back. He didn't know the true strength of Lin Moyu and Lin Moyu's perverted spells, so he couldn't think of a countermeasure at all. Only Zhu Qiwu said, "Boy, does it feel good to kill?" Lin Moyu also sat down at this time. "It's okay." In the screen, Lin Moyu left the strange star, and the battle was imminent. The battlefield card does not seem to have the ability to record sound. Lin Moyu does not know whether it is really not there, or Renhuang network has not released it, and the process of the battle is not completely accurate, only the accuracy has reached more than 80%. But this is enough, and it can basically restore the entire battle. Next, Ku Yuanjun enjoyed a breathtaking battle. Lin Moyu's whole body was covered with golden light, punch after punch, killing the God Kings on the bounty list, and these were all at a higher level of cultivation than Lin Moyu. Until the end, Lin Moyu summoned the Skeleton King, destroyed the battle formation, and killed 3 gods instantly. Ku Yuanjun was shocked to the point of speechlessness, and his heart was pounding. Is this really something a human being can do? Ku Yuanjun felt furious and looked at Zhu Qiwu from time to time. He wondered if Zhu Qiwu gave Lin Moyu some treasure that allowed Lin Moyu to complete the counterattack. It's a pity that Zhu Qiwu didn't say anything. He didn't get any useful information, but it's hard to ask about this kind of thing. It made Ku Yuanjun feel like ants crawling in his heart, making him feel itchy and uncomfortable. After Lin Moyu watched the whole process, he had a deeper understanding of the battlefield cards. The battlefield card will indeed record a lot of information, and Renhuang network can use this information to deduce, and finally restore the picture at that time. The picture is indeed restored, but some things cannot be restored. For example, some of his spells. Because Skeleton King has been used in Renhuang network, it is equivalent to filing. Renhuang Network already has the data of Skeleton King, so Renhuang Network can accurately restore it. But like a corpse bursting, there is actually no information in Renhuang's network, and Renhuang's network has no way to restore it. Especially the Bone Hell. In this replay, there is no shadow of the Bone Hell at all. It is not clear how the coalition forces of the three races were killed in the end. In the screen, Lin Moyu put a spell, but Renhuang Network failed to restore this spell. Obviously, this spell does not exist in the huge database of Renhuang Network. The strange thing is, after Lin Moyu released this spell, he entered the mode of watching a show and stopped doing anything. The coalition forces of the three races seemed to be fighting with an invisible enemy before being killed. That's it. When Zhu Qiwu spoke, Ku Yuanjun immediately understood and stopped the playback. The screen disappeared, but the formation continued to move. The statistics of Lin Moyu's military achievements are still going on, and it doesn't end here. But the next thing, there is no need for Zhu Qiwu and Ku Yuanjun to intervene. Zhu Qiwu asked, "Your new technique looks very good." Lin Moyu smiled and said, "I will demonstrate it to you tomorrow." Zhu Qiwu nodded, "You don't need to demonstrate, this is your secret." Lin Moyu immediately shook his head, "I don't have any secrets from you." He thought in his heart, if you don't demonstrate, how can you satisfy your curiosity? During the period of contact with Zhu Qiwu, Lin Moyu understood clearly. I am very curious, but Zhu Qiwu's curiosity is no less than my own. Maybe at Zhu Qiwu's level, he already knows most things, and there are not many secrets in the world. Just like this, curiosity became more and more serious. Ku Yuanjun finally couldn't help but wonder in his heart, "Master Guard, did you give him a powerful treasure?" He has been thinking about how Lin Moyu killed the three gods. No matter how much I think about it, I can't figure it out, and I think it's impossible even after thinking about it. How can a god be so easy to kill, and he can kill him instantly? Even if he takes action, it is not difficult to kill three people, but if he wants to kill them instantly, it will not be easy. Zhu Qiwu chuckled and said, "There is no treasure. Mr. Lin killed it himself." He did not answer Ku Yuanjun directly. It was enough for him to be curious. As for others, they didn't need to know. Zhu Qiwu reminded again, "Don't tell others about this. What I can tell you is that if the right time comes, Brother Lin can also kill you." Ku Yuanjun suddenly looked up at Lin Moyu, as if he couldn't believe it. "I can reach the 7th level of God. The real high-level God is much more powerful than those three people." Zhu Qiwu actually said that Lin Moyu could kill him. A 3rd-level God King kills a God-level 7th-level God. If this is not a fairy tale, what is it? But Zhu Qiwu's words made him believe again. At the same time, Zhu Qiwu's words also meant a warning, warning him not to tell the outside world, and at the same time not to ask any more questions. The light of the formation gradually weakened, and the battlefield cards that had been floating in the air fell back onto the table. Zhu Qiwu's thoughts moved slightly, and the battlefield cards automatically flew back to Lin Moyu's hand. That's it. The Human Emperor Network will conduct the final verification. After the verification is completed, the reward will go directly to you. Let's go, the butcher still has something to tell you. Yuanjun, remember what you just said, don't leak information about Lin Moyu. Also, that apprentice of yours is currently undergoing treatment, so there may be a chance. The last 2 times, it means sticks and sugar. Ku Yuanjun is also a spirit who has lived for thousands of years. How could he not understand the meaning of Zhu Qiwu's words, and immediately responded, "Don't worry, Lord Guardian, I understand the rules." Zhu Qiwu took Lin Moyu and left, and came to an uninhabited void outside the fortress. With a wave of Zhu Qiwu's hand, an invisible law enveloped him, and the void was sealed off. Lin Moyu knew that Zhu Qiwu's realm had reached the peak of the gods, and he was only half a step away from breaking through the god realm. Some of his abilities were beyond the reach of ordinary gods. With every gesture, there are already some signs of turning decay into magic. Above the gods, that is another level of the world, and Zhu Qiwu has already touched it. Such an understatement to seal off a large area of void silently, and this is impossible for ordinary gods to do. Now there are only 2 people left. Zhu Qiwu cut it off. What is your new technique? The technique that Renwan's network can't restore is a brand new technique that has never appeared before. Xing Qiwu is very curious. Lin Moyu smiled, pressed his palm lightly, and the hell of bones appeared immediately. The bone hell shrouded the void with a radius of 10,000 meters. Inside, bones were everywhere, and gray flames spewed out from the sky and from the ground. In the hell of bones, gray slaves are wandering around. When there is no goal, they are like walking dead. When there is a target, they will turn into beasts and launch a deadly attack on the enemy. Zhu Qiwu felt the breath of the bone hell, and looked at the slaves wandering around in the bone hell. Curiosity was aroused, and he was amazed. This technique is interesting. These are all wonderful spirits. There are also guys from the demon race, golden eagle race, and 3 silver race. Are they simulated by spells? Except that they are all gray, they seem to be peaceful and alive. Zhu Qiwu could only see the surface of the technique, but he couldn't see the inside. Lin Moyu briefly talked about the hell of bones and Zhu Qiwu. It's not over yet. The function of marking enemies in bone hell is hidden. In Lin Moyu's opinion, marking the enemy is the most powerful function of Hell of the Bones. He has no shortage of means of attack, whether it is the undead army, the skeleton king, or the bursting of corpses. The aggressiveness far surpasses that of the bone hell. Even in terms of quantity, the undead army can crush the current bone hell. The strongest point of bone hell is that it can mark attacks. Once marked, there is no way to escape Lin Moyu's soul lock, so he can be greeted with corpse explosion. Although Lin Moyu had hidden the marking function, Zhu Qiwu was shocked by just the other functions. He could actually turn the dead into slaves. So, if you can kill a few gods inside, wouldn't you have gods to protect you? Lin Moyu said. Having said that, there are many limitations. First of all, the bone hell cannot trap the god, and its range is limited. Even if the god is turned into a slave, it can only move within a limited range. In this way, the role of the god will be greatly weakened, and it is better to use it as material. Zhu Qiwu nodded. What you said makes sense. He felt the breath of the hell of bones carefully, but his brows suddenly wrinkled, getting tighter and tighter. Zhu Qiwu's brows were furrowed into a character horoscope. His eyes were extremely complicated, and he kept looking at the bone hell. After a few seconds, he said, bone hell, connected to hell. He seemed to be talking to himself, connected to hell. Connected to hell. Zhu Qiwu kept repeating this sentence in his mouth, and closed his eyes. Lin Moyu didn't bother Zhu Qiwu, just curious. I don't know what Zhu Qiwu saw. The spell information he obtained at that time indeed said so. The power of the bone hell comes from the real hell. It is also with the help of the magical power of the real hell that the dead can be turned into slaves. But Lin Moyu feels that the real hell may be just a description, not necessarily a real place. But looking at Zhu Qiwu's current appearance, Lin Moyu couldn't help muttering, could it be that hell really exists in this world? Is it the Earth system of the demon race? Lin Moyu laughed dumbfounded, feeling that he was thinking too much. Suddenly, a wave of strange breath rose from Zhu Qiwu's body. The smell is not strong, but it is very strange. It is the kind of breath that Lin Moyu has never seen before. Lin Moyu saw a thin line, like smoke like a house. The thin thread flutters in front of the eyes, reflecting the starlight, changing into various shapes and colors. Lin Moyu looked at the thin thread with curiosity in his eyes. It feels like this inconspicuous thread seems to contain a great secret. The thin thread kept twisting in front of my eyes, and finally slowly tied into a knot. At the moment when the knot was completed, a very light but strong vibration occurred in the entire void. The shock is so slight that most people can't feel it at all, but the reaction it triggers is very violent. The bone hell is broken like glass, and space is broken together with the bone hell. The void appeared into dense cracks, and then, with a soft bang, the space collapsed. Lin Moyu's whole body glowed with purple light, and in addition to shock, there were also waves of fear in his eyes. At that moment, the undead army in the magic star of the soul world collapsed, collectively. He collapsed 6 times in a row, and then died, directly triggering his talent. He's reborn, and that's because he's talented. If it were another person, it would be dead at this time. Even if the person standing here at that time was a god or Kuyuan-jun, he would still die. The attack just now came silently, faster than lightning, and it could even be said that there was no trace. Lin Moyu couldn't even react. Fortunately, there was only one attack. If it happened continuously, Lin Moyu felt that he had no other choice but to die. It would be unfair to die at the hands of Zhu Qiwu instead of being tricked and killed by the coalition forces of the 3 tribes. Lin Moyu looked at Zhu Qiwu and wondered whether he should stay away from this guy. It was too dangerous. Hey, boy, this old man's move is not bad. Zhu Qiwu's voice suddenly sounded in his soul, with a hint of teasing. Lin Moyu suddenly realized that what he did just now was simply Xing Qiwu's intention. The corner of his mouth twitched a few times. Senior, this is not good. Zhu Qiwu chuckled, you can't die, I'm just experimenting. Lin Moyu smiled wryly, in case you missed. Zhu Qiwu opened his eyes, 2 bright lights shot out from his eyes. Missed? How could it be possible to miss? Lin Moyu didn't want to continue arguing with him. What happened to you just now? He clearly felt that Zhu Qiwu's aura had changed. He was originally the peak of the gods, the strongest among the gods, but he was still in the realm of the gods. The aura belonging to the gods is very obvious, but it is stronger than all the gods. But now, Zhu Qiwu's aura has become ethereal, covered with a veil of mystery. For a while, Lin Moyu couldn't understand. I had some guesses in my heart, and felt that Zhu Qiwu seemed to have realized something extraordinary. Zhu Qiwu laughed and said, this old man has taken the most important step. 1 foot has stepped into the other side. The other side? Lin Moyu asked, what is the other side? Zhu Qiwu is in a very good mood at this time. Haven't you always wanted to know what is after the god? That is the other side. But that's all I can say. There are a lot of things that you can only experience when you reach that level. If you know too much now, it will be harmful instead of beneficial to you, and it will become a shackle for your progress. Lin Moyu seems to understand, but he has firmly remembered the other shore. Lin Moyu said silently in his heart, after the god is the other side. He congratulated Zhu Qiwu in his mouth. Congratulations, senior, for setting foot on the other side and getting what you want. Zhu Qiwu shook his head, it's just a crucial step, and I haven't really reached the other side yet. I was able to understand something this time, thanks to your bone hell. This old man remembered it. Lin Moyu shook his head, the junior didn't do anything, it's because the seniors have accumulated a lot. Zhu Qiwu waved his hand and interrupted Lin Moyu's words, I know in my heart whether I will do it or not. There are causes and effects, and I will write down what happened this time after I said it. He was a bit domineering, and Lin Moyu didn't say much anymore. 0. Ask for flowers. A strong man who is about to surpass the gods and step into the other side, said that he owes himself a favor, and it is too late for him to be happy. He was just being polite just now. Lin Moyu didn't expect that his bone hell would have such an effect. In fact, thinking about it, it was also because Zhu Qiwu's accumulation was deep enough. Originally, it was only a little bit short, but now he suddenly realized, then he took this step. Zhu Qiwu's mood became brighter and brighter. How many old guys have been trapped in this step for thousands of years, and have not stepped out until they are old? Compared with them, I have won this time. When I go back, I must make fun of these guys, and see how they look. Look at who told me back then that it is impossible to set foot on the other side in this life. Lin Moyu listened quietly, guessing who the old guys Zhu Qiwu was talking about were. A person who can be called an old guy by Zhu Qiwu must not only have strength, but also be older than Zhu Qiwu. Especially the sentence in the words, wait until he goes back. It is self-evident where to go back. Naturally, it is to return to the city of God. Lin Moyu thought of that mysterious person, probably the one who really stepped on the other side. And after stepping into the other side, you can no longer enter the big world for activities casually, and there will be many restrictions. The ancient Buddhas of the Buddhist clan should also be in the same realm. So after Zhu Qiwu stepped into the other side, he needed to go to another place. Lin Moyu asked, "When will senior leave?" Zhu Qiwu shook his head, "It's hard to say. Although I have already entered the other side with one foot, it will take some time. It may be years, decades, or it may only be a few months. But no matter what, I still have some things to do before I really set foot on the other side." Speaking of this, Ichiwu felt a murderous intent. The killing intent was as sharp as a sword, and Lin Moyu's skin felt a little raw. The killing intent became substantive, and Lin Moyu did not expect Zhu Qiwu's killing intent to be so strong. At any time before, Zhu Qiwu has never performed. Lin Moyu realized that what Zhu Qiwu said should be murder. As for who to kill, Zhu Qiwu was originally strong in battle, and now he has half his foot on the other side. With those big men not making a move, who else can stop Zhu Qiwu? Lin Moyu said loudly, "Then I wish you, senior, all your wishes come true." The cliched blessing made Zhu Qiwu laugh out loud. "Okay, all wishes come true." The killing intent became stronger, and it turned into countless sharp swords, chopped into pieces for a long time. When Lin Moyu returned to Fort 1, he was still thinking about the scene just now. Zhu Qiwu shattered the starry sky without a sound, and has completely surpassed the realm of gods. The God Venerable also has the power to break through the void, but that can only be done when the God Venerable goes all out. Even some weaker gods can only create some cracks in the void. But Zhu Qiwu did it like an understatement, without the slightest fireworks. The gap between the two is self-evident. Lin Moyu believes that in this battlefield, Zhu Qiwu is already invincible. It's hard to find an enemy to fight against. No one can stop Zhu Qiwu unless the big man above make a move. Senior Zhu is going to kill people next time, but there should be some restrictions. There must be restrictions, otherwise those big shots would have messed up and killed everything. Lin Moyu thought of this in his heart and walked into the mission center. He came to hand in the mission, hand in the fourth mission, and at the same time accept the fifth battlefield mission. In the trilogy of the second series of missions, the first part has been completed. He killed one of the top 10 enemies on the reward list, and he killed 9 of them, exceeding the limit. In the second part, there are 5 battlefield missions, and there is still one short, so there will be no problem. The third part is to accumulate military merits. This one will be resolved when he leaves the battlefield. In fact, the serial mission has already been completed in Lin Moyu's eyes, and he just waits for when he will leave the battlefield. Even he doesn't know if there will be a third chain mission. Each cultivator is exposed to different chain tasks. The chain task is to enter the city of God. Depending on the performance of each person, it may be necessary to complete several chain tasks. It may also be enough to complete only 2 chain missions. Exactly how many to do is decided by Renwang Network. After queuing up, Lin Moyu came to the counter. The staff behind the counter is a delicate and pleasant female practitioner, with a petite figure and cute appearance, like a doll. She is very young, and her realm is only in the super god realm. When she saw Lin Moyu, the doll showed panic on her face and exclaimed, "What are you going to do?" Obviously she was taken aback by Lin Moyu's appearance at the moment. To be precise, she should have been taken aback by his appearance. Lin Moyu showed a kind smile while wearing the scarlet fire, hand in the task. It's just that his smile, which he thought was kind, seemed to be grinning in the eyes of this doll, which was more frightening than when he didn't smile. Doll tried to calm down, realized that this is the mission center, and the other party couldn't do anything to her, so she muttered, "As soon as you hand in the mission, just hand in the mission, why are you so fierce?" Lin Moyu froze for a moment, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. Had he ever been violent? He handed over the battlefield card, and at the same time took out 20 crystal cores, 10 gray crystal cores, and 10 white crystal cores. The doll took over the battlefield card and connected to the Renhuang network. At the same time, A beam of light fell from the roof and shone on Lin Moyu. The first step of Renhuang network is to verify identity. The doll showed a strange look. Hey, why don't you have any guests? In the information she saw, the name was not displayed. Renhuang network hid the other party's name, which made her feel puzzled, and she had never encountered such a thing. The little girl is very young, her eyes don't know how to hide, Lin Moyu asked, is there a problem? She seemed to be taken aback by Lin Moyu again. No, there's no problem. She was really afraid of Lin Moyu's appearance, and quickly checked other information. Except for the name being hidden, there is no problem with other information. Then she immediately completed the formalities and returned the battlefield card to Lin Moyu, saying repeatedly, okay, okay. Taking the battlefield card, Lin Moyu grinned at the doll, thank you. The doll feels that Lin Moyu wants to eat people, and that big mouth is too scary. She quickly said, you're welcome, go on your way, and I wish you all the best. She said polite words as if she was sending off the plague, hoping Lin Moyu would leave quickly. After Lin Moyu left, Doll breathed a sigh of relief and patted her chest, it's so scary. How could there be such a scary guy? It feels like he wants to eat me. Lin Moyu felt funny in his heart, and his last grin was just to scare the little girl. Looking back now, it seems that the other person is older than myself. I am only about 35 years old now, and the other party is probably over 100 years old in the super god realm. But psychologically, I really don't know how much older I am than the other person. What a strange feeling. I'm not old, are you old? In the God King realm, one can live at least 5,000 years. The cultivation base increases, the world improves, and the lifespan can be longer, especially people like Lin Moyu, whose physical body has also reached the realm of God King, and even achieved the golden body of God King, and his lifespan will only be longer. He is only 35 years old now and has not lived even 1% of his life, but his mentality is very mature. People in the big world, when they are 35 years old, are still learning and cultivating on the life star, and have never even really fought with people, let alone a life and death fight. In the cultivation system of the big world, only those who reach the super god realm are considered true cultivators. Some will personally experience the cruelty of the world. But in fact, there are many super gods who still only perform some simple tasks, are well protected by the human emperor network, and do not know what danger is. In Lin Moyu's eyes, this kind of super god is like a child who has not grown up. I think that when I was in my 30s, I was already fighting life and death battles. The 4th battlefield task is completed, and you must prepare to do the 5th battlefield task. Lin Moyu arrived at a task platform, and was about to start looking for tasks when he suddenly heard a familiar prompt. There was news from Renhuang Network. Complete the top 10 missions on the reward list for killing the Suzaku Star Field, and reward mission points of 10,000. Excessively complete the top 10 missions on the reward list for killing the Vermilion Bird Star Field, the reward mission points are 190,000, and the contribution points are 2 points. Kill the Tribal Coalition, reward 10,000 military merits. Kill 3 gods, reward 100,000 military merit, 5 contribution points, and 2 military supply points. A series of 4 messages popped up, rewarding Lin Moyu's tasks and killing enemies respectively. A total of 200,000 mission points, 110,000 military merits, 7 points of contribution, and 2 military supplies. Whether it is mission points or military merits, they have already exceeded the upper limit of ordinary missions. Lin Moyu is clear that the main reason is that he has done too perfectly. The task only required to kill any one of the top 10 in the reward list, but he killed all 9 of the top 10 in one fell swoop. There is still one flying python who did not come, and if he came, he would be killed together with the others. This also directly led to a collective substitution of the Zhuke Starfield Terran reward list. Those people who were not ranked in the top 10 before have all risen in the ranking now, and I don't know whether those guys should be happy or sad. Killing the coalition of the 3 races will reward you with 10,000 military merits, which is actually quite a lot. The role of military merit can far exceed points. 10,000 military merit is worth hundreds of thousands of points. Killing 3 gods will directly reward 100,000 military merits. Compared with mission point rewards, military merit rewards are more generous. After all, it is a god. Normally, only a god can kill a god. With Lin Moyu's own strength, he crossed the realm and killed the god. The rewards are naturally rich. Finally, there are 7 points of contribution and 2 points of military supplies. Lin Moyu, who has already experienced the benefits of both, deeply feels that these 2 rewards are better than any military merit points and are more real. If he is willing, he can use 1 point of contribution plus 1 point of military supplies to directly exchange for the imitation of the God of War fortress. Its value is incalculable. After receiving the reward, Lin Moyu checked his personal information through Renhuang Network. Lin Moyu, Glory First Class Captain. Age, 35. Level, God King 3rd level. Soul, Peak of 4th grade. Potential Evaluation, Legend. Highest Authority, Level 4. Comprehensive Strength, Little God. Possess points, Sad Face 851,850. Military Merit, 178,676. Contribution Points, 12. Military Points, 3. Duration of Human Emperor Training Ground, 3,500 days. Laws of Control, the Law of Immortality, the Law of Killing, the Law of Thunder and Lightning. Lin Moyu looked at his message thoughtfully. The military rank has been directly promoted, is there no promotion task? Look for an opportunity to ask why there is no promotion task. According to Lin Moyu's knowledge, the promotion of military ranks requires not only meeting the military merit requirements, but also performing promotion tasks. When I was promoted from a soldier to a non-commissioned officer before, I had carried out the promotion. This time, he directly became the school consolation, which is really strange. Continuing to check the information, Lin Moyu found that Renhuang Network's description of himself was quite correct. His actual combat power is indeed that of a minor god, much worse than a real god. The Human Emperor Network did not increase its combat power to the realm of gods just because it killed 3 gods. It is estimated that Zhu Qiwu's analysis will also be included. Zhu Qiwu knows his own situation very well. The mission points have reached 850,000, and there are still 150,000 left before the 5th level authority. Level 5 authority requires 1 million task points. For most practitioners, these points require hundreds or even thousands of years to complete through hundreds of tasks, but it only took Lin Moyu a few years to rely on overfulfilling tasks time and time again to obtain additional rewards. He received several times or even 10 times more points than others. If you continue like this, it won't take long to reach level 5 authority. It can be said that he is one of the cultivators with the fastest increase in authority among the human race. I haven't checked my information for a long time. After reading it this time, I am quite satisfied. The corners of his mouth were raised slightly, showing a cannibalistic smile, and he said to himself, let's take a look at the mission. There is also the last battlefield mission, which is less than 2 years away from the 4-star competition, so it should be in time. Opening the task list, Lin Moyu looked for tasks. After reaching the 3rd level of God King, the number of tasks you can take on has increased. In fact, the God King realm can already accept most tasks, and there are very few restrictions. After that, the cultivation level will continue to improve, and the number of tasks will increase, but in terms of the total number, they are already in the minority. The lowest level True God Realm mission begins, and a large number of missions are listed in front, adding up to tens of thousands. Lin Moyu directly skipped those tasks in the True God Realm and only looked at the tasks in the God King Realm. Looking through the past tasks one by one, almost all the tasks I saw were not difficult. Its reward points are also between 10,000 and 20,000. Points are often linked to the difficulty of the task. Before accepting the task, although the specific information of the task cannot be seen, the difficulty of the task can be inferred from the points awarded. Lin Moyu conducts secondary screening and only selects tasks with high points. The task list has been greatly reduced, from tens of thousands of tasks to less than 200. It would be so convenient to choose one of the 200 tasks. Hey, the points for this mission are actually unknown. Suddenly Lin Moyu saw a strange task, and the reward points of this task showed that it was unknown. If the points are unknown, it means that the difficulty is also unknown. The task is fixed, which means that depending on the completion of the task reward will be different. There is no lower limit, but I just don't know if there is an upper limit. The area where the task is performed is at 9 to 58, the 9th war zone, which is very close to the center of the number 10 war zone. It is the area where the high-level god kings are active. This mission is very special. For the task in front of him, not only did he not have specific reward points, but he didn't even mention the name of the task. In the information given, it only stated that the mission area is in the 9th war zone, number 58 area, numbered 9 to 58. According to the numbering rules of the battlefield, numbers 1 to 10 theaters, of which number 10 is the most central and widest area, and it is also the most dangerous area. Generally speaking, the activities in the number 10 war zone are all the peak god kings, minor gods, and some gods. The number 9 war zone is the closest to the number 10 war zone, and the danger inside is also not small. It belongs to the area where high-level god kings are active. This mission is in area 9 to 58, obviously the difficulty will not be small. Generally speaking, if you accept this task, you will be a high-level god king. Lin Moyu only has the 3rd rank of the King of Gods, and he does have the authority to accept this task, but generally he will not accept it. Lin Moyu didn't pick it up either, he wouldn't pick up the last task casually. This task may be related to the overall evaluation of the serial tasks. Although he has confidence in his own strength, self-confidence is not conceded, Lin Moyu will not mess around. After locking this unknown mission, he searched around and found several backup missions. Lin Moyu left the mission center. On the way to the trading center, passers-by gave Lin Moyu sideways glances, and then quickly avoided. As long as Lin Moyu casts his gaze, most people will turn their heads immediately, and they dare not look at Lin Moyu. Especially some female practitioners hide faster than anyone else. Lin Moyu, who was ugly, fierce and vicious, walked unimpeded on the road and walked into the trading center smoothly. It was quite lively in front of the trading center, but the moment they saw Lin Moyu, some people stepped back to make way for the passage. When I came to the central counter, I met Yuqing. Yuqing was still in a dazed state, almost half of her time was in a daze, it was a bit leisurely. Lin Moyu tapped the counter lightly twice, pulling Yuqing back from her thoughts. Then a scream came from Yuqing's mouth, and attracted countless glances. Lin Moyu curled his lips, thinking that his Chihua appearance was a little too much. But that guy really looks deeply rooted in people's hearts, they will never forget him after seeing him, and he remembered it firmly at that time. Yuqing covered her mouth with one hand and pressed her chest with the other. Her small face was slightly pale. Mr. Lin, you are trying to scare people to death. Lin Moyu chuckled, is Yuju still in the old place? Yuqing nodded, yes, go ahead, good. Lin Moyu was already a regular customer and walked straight to the backyard. In the gazebo in the backyard, Yuju received a message that Lin Moyu was coming. Immediately replace all the original tea with new ones and make iced tea. Since the first time she was burned by the stellar spirit, whenever Lin Moyu came, Yuju served iced tea. Once bitten by a snake and afraid of well ropes for 10 years, this sentence is vividly reflected in Yuju. Lin Moyu smelled the tea fragrance from the pavilion from a distance, saw the beauty in the pavilion, and walked in generously. While entering the gazebo, he put away his concealment mask and restored his original appearance. Yuju chuckled lightly, the captain himself looks good. Lin Moyu sat down, took the tea handed by Yuju himself, and cut straight to the point, I'm looking for you to sell something. Yuju's eyes glowed, really, this time the captain has gained something again. Lin Moyu took a sip of tea and took out a few things, it's really a harvest. The 3 storage treasures were placed in front of Yu Zhu. Yu Zhu's beautiful eyes widened immediately, and even her voice trembled. God Venerable Realm, Captain, did you kill the God Venerable again? Lin Moyu hummed softly, by chance, I killed 3 of them. What does it mean to kill 3 by chance? What kind of coincidence can kill a god? Yu Zhu couldn't help giving Lin Moyu a blank look. Captain, have you ever heard a saying that excessive modesty is pride? Lin Moyu disagreed. Just tell the truth, call your sisters over. This time there are a lot of things. There are tens of thousands of allied troops of the 3 races, each of whom is an elite of the God King realm, and their financial resources are so small, not too valuable. Lin Moyu has a high vision, and he doesn't like the material of God King realm. He had already searched for the magic treasures stored by the 3 gods beforehand, but he did not find any magic weapons and worthwhile materials for the gods. Coupled with the inheritance of the previous 3 gods, it can be proved that not all gods are rich. It is said that most of the gods are still using the magic weapon of the king of the gods, which seems to be true. Not only is there no finished magic weapon, but there are not many materials for the godly realm. Even if there is, it is the kind of poor god-level material, which is not qualified for summoning elemental liches. But Lin Moyu was also afraid that he might be mistaken, so he made an agreement with Yu Zhu in advance that if he had good materials to tell him, he will decide to sell them himself or not. 5 traders were called over by Yu Zhu, all the beauties gathered together, looking at Lin Moyu curiously with big eyes. This is not the first time they have come here, and every time only when encountering a very large-scale transaction, multiple traders will act together. This good-looking man in front of him, the scale of the transaction he brings every time is beyond imagination. If there were no rules, they would really like to have an in-depth deal with Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu took out all kinds of storage magic weapons, but only a part of them. If tens of thousands of treasures are taken out together, this capital can be destroyed. The gazebo fell into silence, and the counting officially began. One by one, the items are taken out from the storage magic weapon, and then thrown into the trading board for valuation. Several traders were so busy that they didn't stop. Whenever a part of the magic weapon is lost, Lin Moyu will take out a part again, just like it will never end. And the inheritance of the gods is naturally handed over to Yu Zhu. Yu Zhu's materials are handled very carefully, and the price is accurate. After 2 full days, the 5 members of the trading room finally finished their work and left the gazebo with a little exhaustion. Yu Zhu took a sip of tea first, and then said, Captain, I've figured everything out. For 2 days, Yu Zhu didn't stop without eating or drinking, and she was very tired at this time. But there was excitement in her eyes. The amount of transaction points this time broke the record again. From Yu Zhu's expression, Lin Moyu had already guessed the result and remained calm. Thank you for your hard work, just tell me the result. Yu Zhu said, according to the rules, we rounded up the total, which is 320 million points in total. Lin Moyu nodded. This number is actually not too much, after all. It is the inheritance left by tens of thousands of strong people in the God King realm. He even felt a little lacking, thinking that these guys are really poor. At this time, Yu Zhu took out an item, which was a bracelet, a women's bracelet. Yu Zhu said, I found this bracelet in the magic weapon stored in the godly realm, and it was placed in a corner, very secretive. Based on experience, I can judge that this is a good item, which comes from the starry sky murlocs. But I can't judge the specific level. The bracelet is made of a special shell, with intricate patterns engraved on it, which looks very exquisite. Lin Moyu could feel a strong aura from the bracelet, but the aura was vague, and it was also impossible to tell what level of magic weapon it was. But it is certain that this is indeed a magic weapon belonging to the starry sky murlocs. The things of the starry sky murlocs are very special, even if they are obtained by other races, they are difficult to use. That deity presumably did the same thing. He couldn't use it after getting it, but he was reluctant to throw it away, so he finally threw it into the corner where the magic weapon was stored. The jade bamboo bracelet couldn't be valued, so it was kept. Lin Moyu put away the bracelet. Okay, just leave it to me. In the future, if you meet Yu Qingru by chance, you can give her the bracelet. After all, it's useless to put it on himself. At the end of the transaction, Lin Moyu received 320 million points, and the total number of points on his body reached 660 million. Yuju's eyes narrowed into crescent moons. Captain, you are definitely the richest among all the god kings. Not only the god king, you are richer than most of the gods. With so many points, do you plan to buy any materials? Lin Moyu smiled slightly. Is there any magic weapon that can reach the divine realm? Yuju's little face stiffened, and her smile suddenly disappeared. Yes, but 600 million points are not enough. Even if I give the captain a discount, it won't be enough. Lin Moyu laughed and said, just kidding, I want to buy some information, you must have it here. In fact, Lin Moyu can also ask Zhu Qiwu for information, and I believe Zhu Qiwu will not refuse. But Lin Moyu still wants to do what he can do. The Yu family should have information on various regions, and their information channels may be related to the military. Even if it is not as detailed as Zhu Qiwu's, it will not be too different. Moreover, this information can be traded in most cases. Buying and selling has always been the specialty of the Yu family. Lin Moyu didn't expect it at first. Later, Yu Zhu told him that even intelligence information could be bought and sold, and he only thought of this. Yu Zhu said, what area information does the captain need? The price of information in different areas is different. If it is just some ordinary areas, people can make the decision and give it to the captain. Lin Moyu said casually, 9 to 58 star area. Yu Zhu was stunned for a moment, then showed surprise, area 9 to 58. Captain, you also want to take on this mission? Lin Moyu looked at Yu Zhu. Do you know this mission? Yu Zhu nodded matter-of-factly. Who doesn't know about this mission? It is the most special among all missions. I don't know the mission information, I don't know the mission rewards, I only know one area. Every time someone takes on this task, they come to us and ask us to buy materials. It's a pity that I don't have much information about this mission. Lin Moyu became more and more curious. Even the Yu family did not have information on this area. Has the special nature of this mission reached this level? Lin Moyu knows the rules of Renhuang Network. Even if he completes the task, he cannot announce the strategy of the task to the public. But private communication is still okay. For example, you can also sell some not particularly important information to the Yu family, so Renhuang Network would allow it. But now it seems that the Yu family does not have much information about the area 9 to 58. Yu Zhu took out a jade tablet. Here is all the information about the 9 to 58 area of our Yu family. Lin Moyu asked, how much points? Yu Zhu shook her head, no points, just one requirement. If the captain takes this task and completes it, I hope he can come back and tell us some information. It's not a mandatory requirement. It's up to the captain to decide whether to say it or not. With this transaction method, it can be seen that the Yu family has very little information. It took Lin Moyu less than a minute to read all the information. There is no substantive content in it. Most of the people who took on this mission returned safely, but the missions all ended in failure. A few people encountered danger during their missions and never returned. According to the Yu family's information, there are only 3 people who have completed this task. But the 3 of them didn't say anything. And not long after, the 3 died unexpectedly. Yu Zhu said, Captain, do you have to accept this mission? After Lin Moyu thought for a few seconds, he shook his head and said, I don't have to answer it, I'm just curious. Yu Zhu breathed a sigh of relief. I still suggest that the captain should not take this task is too weird. Lin Moyu chuckled, I also want to buy something. Do you have any historical information about the battlefield? Yu Zhu nodded vigorously, of course this is true. Our Yu family has records of everything that happened on the battlefield over the years. Lin Moyu said, how do you sell this? We have clearly marked the price. What happened in the past 100 years is priced at 10,000 points. For every 100 years, add 10,000 points. Starting from 1,000 years ago, for every 100 years added, 100,000 points will be added, and so on. And we guarantee that the materials we sell are cheaper than those on Renhuang Network. The captain also knows that most of the information can be found on Renhuang Network, but there is also a fee. As for the free basic information, the captain will not be interested. And some of our Yu family's information is not even available on the Human Emperor's network. Lin Moyu calculated that if he wanted to view information from 1,000 years ago, he would need 100,000 points. After that, every 100 years will increase by 100,000 points. If he wanted to view information from before 2000, he would have to pay 1 million points. If it is data before 2100, the price will reach 2 million points. 3,000 years ago, it became 10 million points. The older the material, the more expensive it is. Lin Moyu can understand this pricing method. And Yuzhu is right, even if these materials are in Renhuang Network, you have to pay points to view them. As for those free and open materials, Lin Moyu has almost read them all. Lin Moyu thought about it. Let's look at the materials from 2000 years ago first. Yuzhu hummed, no problem. As she said that, she took out a jade tablet. In the past 2000 years, all the big and small things that happened in the Suzaku battlefield are recorded in it. But the captain can't take it away, so he can only watch it here, and the longest viewing time is 10 days. Lin Moyu took the jade tablet, moved his soul, and began to examine it. A large amount of materials poured in, and Lin Moyu felt as if he had entered a library, and there were so many materials in it. Almost all the big and small things that happened in the past 2000 years are recorded in it, and the amount of information is astonishingly large. 3 souls. It is very difficult to read these materials in one day. Fortunately, Lin Moyu has a strong soul and seems to be surprisingly fast. Lin Moyu doesn't care about the number of points, let alone 1 million points, even if it is 10 million points or 100 million points. As long as he can find the answer he wants, it is not a problem. The main reason is that he feels that if the age is too long, the amount of data will become astonishing, and it will take a lot of time to check. But if the time is too close, it is very likely that he will not find the answer he needs. He had heard from Zhu Qiwu that he was going to do some big things, but he didn't tell him what the so-called big things were. Since he was not willing to say, then I will find the answer myself. The year 2000 is just the right amount of time, and there is a high probability that you can find the answers you need. If you can't find it, then keep looking forward, and you can always find it. Lin Moyu checked the information, not letting go of minor incidents. He knows that many big things are actually hidden in some small things. Finally, he found some clues. 1832 years ago, a mysterious powerful man came to the human race's fortress. Along with this mysterious powerful man came several human gods, but these human gods were all corpses. The mysterious strong man killed several human gods and brought their bodies to Fortress 10. For the human race, this is a trampling on the dignity of the human race. In the end, the mysterious strong man had a battle with Zhu Qiwu, who was guarding the battlefield. No one knew the outcome of the battle, and in the end the mysterious strong man withdrew, and Zhu Qiwu remained motionless and silent for the next 500 years. Seeing this information, Lin Moyu guessed that Zhu Qiwu must have been injured, and the most important thing is that the corpses of several human gods brought by the mysterious strong man did not remain, but were taken away by him again. In other words, Zhu Qiwu didn't leave the corpses of those human gods behind. It is equivalent to the other party provoking the human race, and even slapped Zhu Qiwu on the face, and finally retreated calmly. Based on Lin Moyu's understanding of Zhu Qiwu, this is even more uncomfortable than killing him. Could it be that Senior Zhu is going to avenge his defeat? Senior Zhu should have reached the pinnacle of God Venerable at that time, and he will suffer a lot during his lifetime. Thinking of this, the answer is already very clear. Only the existence with half a foot on the other shore can make Zhu Qiwu, who is at the peak of the gods, deflated. Lin Moyu knows that Zhu Qiwu is very strong, and he is also the peak of the gods. Zhu Qiwu is one of the best existences. But he also couldn't beat the opponent. Those who have really entered the other shore cannot do it casually, so the strongest are those who have stepped into the other shore half step. Now Zhu Qiwu is really standing in the ranks of the strongest. As long as he does not step into the other side, then no one will be his opponent. Lin Moyu heaved a long sigh of relief, and finally understood what Zhu Qiwu was going to do. He's going to avenge the defeat of that day. He lost face back then, and he wants to get it back. But thinking about it now, Zhu Qiwu is really strong and can save his life in front of such an opponent. If it is replaced by other gods, I am afraid that they are already dead. Lin Moyu didn't think that the other party would show mercy and not kill Zhu Qiwu. There must be some reasons why Zhu Qiwu had to be let go. In other words, Zhu Qiwu also has a whole card, which is enough to hurt both sides, and even die together. After getting the answer he wanted, Lin Moyu felt that his 1 million points were well spent. Then take the time to read the rest of the information. 1,000 years is actually a very short period of time on the battlefield. The history of the battlefield can be traced back to Xuangu. In such a long time, not much happened in 1,000 years. The only thing worthy of attention is the rise of Shaoxing. After Shaoxing entered the battlefield, he overcame obstacles all the way, constantly fighting across levels and across borders, creating brilliant and shining achievements one after another. At that time, Shaoxing was in the limelight and was known as the star of the human race. At that time, Shaoxing had a flamboyant personality and was very high profile. It wasn't until hundreds of years ago that Shaoxing suddenly disappeared, but the topic about him continued for several decades before it faded away. Not many people know where Shaoxing is. Lin Moyu is one of them. Lin Moyu knew that it wouldn't be long before Shaoxing would return as a god. Finally, Lin Moyu saw his own information in the information of recent years. The second god of war. Seeing the description of himself, Lin Moyu smiled and asked, "What is this?" After reading the information, he returned the jade token to Yuzhu and paid the points at the same time. A mere 1 million points is nothing to Lin Moyu's current net worth. If you don't look carefully, you can't see the change in points. Yuzhu's eyes were smiling. The captain finished reading it so quickly. The captain's soul state is really enviable. If it were someone else, I wouldn't have 10 days to finish watching it. Looking at the captain's appearance, he must have found the information he needed. Lin Moyu read it very quickly, finishing it in less than half a day. From Yuzhu's point of view, it would take at least 10 days, and the gap between their souls was very huge. Lin Moyu took a sip of tea and said, "I found it indeed," which verified one of my guesses. "If I accept the mission, I will tell you what needs to be said." Yuzhu frowned. Captain really wants to take on this mission? Not necessarily yet, I still need some information. Amid Yuzhu's worries, Lin Moyu left the trading center and came to the military merit office. The transaction of 320 million points can be exchanged for 32,000 military merits, and the military rank will be directly promoted to the second-level captain. At the military merit office, Lin Mo met Meng Gang, an old acquaintance by now. "We haven't seen each other for a few years." Meng Gang is still in charge of the military merit department, but his military rank has been promoted from second-level non-commissioned officer to third-level non-commissioned officer. Even after so many years, Meng Gang still treats Lin Moyu as a captain. From Meng Gang's mouth, Lin Moyu learned why he did not need to perform the task of promotion to the military rank. From a non-commissioned officer to a captain, not everyone has to perform military rank promotions. The promotion task of captain's military rank mainly considers the combat strength. As long as the combat strength meets the requirements, the promotion can be satisfied. Generally speaking, as long as the combat power reaches the 7th level of God King, it is enough to be promoted in the military rank. Even if there is a task consideration, it will be done in the Renhuang network, and the evaluation will be given by the Renhuang network. In this way, some factors of one's own strength can be eliminated, and a magic weapon cannot be used to create false combat power. However, Lin Moyu doesn't want it at all. Renhuang Network's evaluation of Lin Moyu's overall strength has reached the level of a minor god, which is more than enough for him to be promoted to captain. If Lin Moyu wants to go one step further and reach the general level, then he needs to have the combat power of the divine realm, which will be relatively difficult. After redeeming the military merit, Lin Moyu left the military merit office and sent a message to Zhu Qiwu. Although Fortress 10 was far away from the human emperor network, he knew that Zhu Qiwu would definitely receive the message. Although Zhu Qiwu is not in Fortress 1, he writes that there is always a mysterious connection between Qiwu and the Renhuang network. Sure enough, just 2 minutes after the message was sent, Lin Moyu received Zhu Qiwu's response. There were only 4 words in the reply: "Come to Fortress 10." Lin Moyu stepped into the teleportation array and headed to Qianxian County Medical Seat. Not everyone is eligible to go to Fortress 10 and needs authorization to enter. Apparently Lin Moyu received Zhu Qiwu's authorization and successfully activated the teleportation array. From Fort 1 to Fort 10, you need to make several transfers, passing through Fort 2, 3, and 4. Then jump from Fortress 4 to Fortress 6, then pass through Fortress 8, and finally reach Fortress 10. The entire transmission process is more than 100,000 light-years, which is very long. This transmission is the longest transmission time in Lin Moyu's training career. When he appeared in Fortress 10, his body trembled slightly before he left the teleportation array. An invisible force came from all directions of the fortress and fell on him. The feeling is somewhat similar to the squeezing force in the Wonderful Land. This fortress is different. Lin Moyu's first reaction told him that Fortress 10 was different from other fortresses. Then he saw Fortress 10. Although they were all in a strong military style, they were indeed fundamentally different from other fortresses. Every building here is engraved with formations, and Lin Moyu feels that once these formations are activated, the entire fortress will be transformed into a terrifying combat weapon. Then a ray of light fell from the sky in front of Lin Moyu, forming a guiding sign. Zhu Qiwu's voice rang in Lin Moyu's ears: "Follow the sign and come here. Fly along the signpost and leave Fort 10." Halfway through the flight, Lin Moyu felt like he had passed through an invisible barrier. Array. Looking down, Fortress 10 became a little blurry in his sight. Only then did he realize that the formation of Fortress 10 was always in operation. However, the operation of the formation requires a lot of energy at all times, and where does this energy come from? Like forts numbers 1 to 9, when there is no war, the formations in the fort are always closed. Lin Moyu looked at the increasingly smaller Fortress 10 under his feet, and felt that Fortress 10 had a familiar feeling. An idea flashed in his mind, and Lin Moyu knew what Fortress 10 was. That is the fortress of the god of war, not an imitation, but the real fortress of the god of war. The imitation of the god of war fortress has the combat power of a god, so how strong should the real version of the god of war fortress be? 0. Asking for flowers. Placing the god of war fortress here shows that this place is indeed dangerous, and it also shows that this place is indeed very important. Zhu Qiwu is like a sculpture, sitting here motionless. As far as Lin Moyu knows, Yin Qiwu has been sitting for thousands of years without changing positions. But that's not to say that he really doesn't move, it's just that his body doesn't move, and his avatar will still go out occasionally. Those who met Lin Moyu before were all Zhu Qiwu's clones, not his true body. It's just that Zhu Qiwu said that his avatar is a bit strange and different from others. The avatar can also be regarded as the main body, the difference will not be too big. Seeing the main body for the first time, Lin Moyu felt that his main body was more serious and majestic. A strange breath wrapped around Zhu Qiwu's body. This is the breath of the other side. Lin Moyu saluted Zhu Qiwu. "I have met you, senior." "What's up?" Zhu Qiwu's voice was slightly low, as if he was suppressing something. Lin Moyu still feels the difference between the avatar and the main body. The avatar is more easygoing, while the main body is a bit too serious. Lin Moyu said, "I want to ask my seniors for a copy." Zhu Qiwu glanced at Lin Moyu, which meant to say, "Just for this." Lin Moyu continued, "Junior wants information on areas 9 to 58. As soon as these words came out, Zhu Qiwu's expression changed slightly. "Are you going to accept this mission?" Lin Moyu saw something unusual from the change in Zhu Qiwu's expression. His expression was a bit complicated, and it was obvious that this task was not simple. Lin Moyu said, haven't decided to pick it yet, just thinking about it. Zhu Qiwu thought for a while, and threw a jade tablet to Lin Moyu. It was a jade tablet that stored battlefield information, and he had shown it to Lin Moyu last time. I'll give you a minute. Zhu Qiwu said very bluntly. The value of the information in this jade tablet is incalculable, and Lin Moyu is already very valued if he can show it to Lin Moyu. There will not be too much information about the area 9 to 58, 1 minute is enough. Lin Moyu checked it immediately. There was indeed not much information, and Lin Moyu had finished reading it after only half a minute, and returned the jade plaque to Zhu Qiwu. The information Zhu Qiwu has is indeed much richer than that of the Yu family, and Lin Moyu has seen some important information. This area contains a cursed calendar area. Most people did not trigger the curse, so they did not complete the task. Some people triggered the curse and died inside. 3 people came back alive, but they were still haunted by the curse and died one after another less than half a year after leaving. It turned out to be so. After reading the information, Lin Moyu couldn't help but feel a little shocked. He also has curse spells, and has 4 of them. There are 3 soul-type curses, namely, soul burning, that directly attacks the soul curse, that reduces the enemy's various functions, and soul poison, that causes continuous damage to the soul. There are also 3 spells. The curse factory of time. However, he rarely uses basic curse spells alone, and most often uses the fused version, time curse. The key lies in the time acceleration ability of time curse, which releases soul poison in an instant instead of the continuous and slow damage it should do. Coupled with the effect of soul burning, it greatly exceeds the 2 in power. The only pity is that time curse cannot inherit the ability to weaken the target in soul curse. Also, because most of the time we face enemies whose realm is much higher than our own, the effect of soul curses in reducing various attributes and functions is minimal. But if you are facing an enemy of the same level, and you don't need to use soul curse at all, you have countless ways to kill the enemy instantly. Taken together, soul curse appears to be a bit useless. However, Lin Moyu always feels that there is no useless technique, it just depends on when it is needed. Precisely because he possesses curse-like spells, Lin Moyu became more interested after reading the information on Area 9 to 58. Seeing the change in Lin Moyu's eyes, Zhu Jiwu already knew his decision. A serious voice slowly sounded, "Listen carefully to what I say next." Lin Moyu sat upright and pricked up his ears. Zhu Jiwu's voice became deeper and deeper. In addition to the superficial information recorded in the materials, there is also some information passed down orally. The 3 people who came back from Area 9 to 58 seemed normal, but in fact they were deeply hurt by the curse and their souls were disordered. Others think they are unwilling to say anything, but in fact they can't say anything. Later, they were taken into custody by the military, and we tried various methods but could not lift the curse. Area number 9 to 58 has realm restrictions, and those in the divine realm cannot enter. Once you get inside, we won't be able to intervene. I can't get in, and neither can those people. Your life-saving stone will lose its effect. If you go in, you have to think carefully. Your life or death depends on you. Everyone has his own way. You need to walk your own way, so I won't stop you. Whether you want to go or not, you decide for yourself. Lin Moyu saluted Zhu Qiwu respectfully. Thank you, Senior, for your guidance. I understand it late. Zhu Qiwu hummed and waved, let's go. He closed his eyes, and Lin Moyu stopped lingering and turned to leave. Returning to Fortress 10, when passing through the formation, the battlefield card glowed slightly, and his face confirmed his identity. On the way back to Fortress 1, while sitting in the teleportation array, Lin Moyu thought about the relevant information and Zhu Qiwu's words. The 2 corroborate each other and can analyze many situations. First of all, the mission in Area 9 to 58 can basically be determined, and it should be an exploration-focused mission. Secondly, as long as the curse is not triggered inside, although the task cannot be completed, there will be no danger. Moreover, there will be no punishment for failure of this type of task. Once the curse is triggered inside, it means that the key point of the mission has been found. However, the curse is very dangerous and outsiders cannot resolve it. Once you are cursed, even if you come back, there will only be death. The gods and above cannot enter, even those big figures who have set foot on the other side cannot enter, which shows that the restrictions in this area are very strong. The stronger the restrictions, the greater the secrets it often contains. Could it be related to ancient times? Or is it also a special area formed by chaotic rules? There are less than 2 years until the 4-star competition. Should I not take this mission? Lin Moyu weighed the pros and cons and considered whether to go. Curses are scary and dangerous things in the eyes of others. The attack of the curse is too weird, and many curses directly hit the soul. Once the soul is severely injured, it will be very troublesome to recover. Xiaoxing is the best example. His soul was severely injured and almost collapsed, and he could not be healed. The same is true for the 3 people who came back before. But Lin Moyu is not afraid of this. He has an ability that no one else has, a passive spell called Status Immunity. Status Immunity, Fusion 150%. The master and his summons are immune to all negative states, including spells, arrays, enchantments, curses, and negative laws. He can completely ignore the curse. All he needs to consider is a matter of time and whether it will affect the 4-star competition. When he returned to Fortress 1, Lin Moyu had already made his decision. Go. The more dangerous the place, the greater the benefits can often be obtained. Whether it's out of curiosity or for greater profits, Lin Moyu feels like he has to go there. Return to the mission center, decisively accept this mission, then activate the teleportation array again, and go to the number 9 Starry Sky Fortress. Shortly after Lin Moyu took over the task, Zhu Qiwu already knew. As Lin Moyu guessed, Zhu Qiwu has always maintained contact with Renhuang Network. At the same time, he also cares about Lin Moyu's every move. I'd better go, maybe he can solve this mystery. I'm also curious about what's in it. Those people must also be very curious. For so many years, no one has been able to learn the secret. Area 9 to 58 has existed for many years. Over the years, in addition to the human race, countless powerful people from countless races have entered and explored it. Nothing more than 3 results were obtained. Die directly inside, or come back and die after being cursed, or most people return without success. But that was someone else, not Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu has created miracles many times, and maybe he can do it this time too. Zhu Qiwu said to himself that he did not seem to be worried that Lin Moyu would die, but had strong expectations. Area 9 to 58, seen from a distance, looks like a huge whirlpool. The diameter of the vortex exceeds tens of millions of kilometers, far exceeding that of ordinary stars. Lin Moyu could feel a powerful force enveloping the entire vortex. This force was so strong that it made his heart jump. He felt it carefully and gradually discovered some clues. This force seems to have set a critical point, which is usually hidden. As long as it exceeds this critical point, it will be activated. It will repel all those who come close, whether they enter the vortex from the outside world or come out of the vortex. The critical point is the state of God. As long as it exceeds the realm of God, not only can't they get in, but also can't get out. Lin Moyu couldn't help thinking inwardly, is this force formed naturally, or someone deliberately set it up? Is it just to prevent people above the gods from entering? Or is it also to prevent the existence in the vortex from coming out? In the vortex, is there an existence stronger than the gods? There are thousands of thoughts for a while, no matter what thoughts are, they are just speculations. Only when he goes in by himself can he prove it. Lin Moyu found a place in the void and set a return beacon. With the guidance of this beacon, he can return the teleportation talisman instantly within a range of tens of millions of kilometers. Not necessarily useful, but just in case. When you enter an unknown place, no one can help you, so you must be careful in everything. Lin Moyu disappeared into the whirlpool. After entering the vortex, a huge suction force fell on him, dragging him into the depths of the vortex. During the whole process, perception is blinded, no direction, no distance, no speed, it seems that even time stops. Lin Moyu counts silently in his heart, wanting to know how much time and distance has passed by counting. However, under the interference of invisible forces, the time seems to be disordered, and his thinking also appears to be stagnant and interrupted. Counting also becomes useless. Most of the feelings were blocked, but with the soul of the fourth-rank peak, I could still feel some abnormalities. Lin Moyu felt as if he had passed through layer after layer of diaphragms, and the surrounding atmosphere seemed to have changed, becoming different from the battlefield and the big world. Leaving the battlefield, not in the big world anymore. Lin Moyu thought to himself. This feeling is also different from entering the Lust Desert before. Whether it is the Lust Desert or ancient tombs, although they all have their own rules. But it is more or less connected with the battlefield and the big world. But now, Lin Moyu can't feel the breath of the battlefield and the big world at all. From this, he judged that he had entered an independent world. I don't know how long it took, and finally got down to ground. It was as if a long teleportation had ended, and the picture in front of him was rippling like water, from blurry to clear, and his sight returned to normal after 2 seconds. This is a dark world. The sky is covered with dark clouds, and occasionally light shines through, bringing some light to the world. The light passing through the clouds is deeply red, as if behind the thick clouds, a raging flame is burning. But it was cold all around, and it didn't have the temperature that the flame should have. Lin Moyu instinctively wanted to fly up to have a look, but a powerful force rose from the ground and grabbed him firmly. Lin Moyu exerted his strength suddenly, golden light erupted from his whole body, trying to get rid of this force. Under the confrontation between the two, Lin Moyu gained the upper hand, and his body slowly lifted into the air. But when he flew 100 meters into the air, the suction force from the ground suddenly strengthened, making it impossible for him to continue rising. At this time it was still far away from the clouds. Lin Moyu tried several times, and fell to the ground. Then he jumped up with all his strength, his body ejected like a cannonball, and instantly surpassed the height of 100 meters. At a height of 200 meters, the pulling force on the ground became stronger again, but it still couldn't stop Lin Moyu at this moment. At a height of 300 meters, the pulling force became much stronger. At this moment, the castration was exhausted, and he had no choice but to fall back to the ground. He jumped up like a cannonball, and fell down like a meteor, but there was no trace left on the ground. If it was replaced by ordinary stars, the earth would have been cracked long ago, and the stars would have collapsed if not done. It is not difficult for a physical body in the God King realm to blow up the stars with one punch. Immediately afterwards, the grey flames burned blazingly, and a gigantic skeleton throne emerged from the sky. Before the Skeleton King stood up from the skeleton throne, an invisible force fell on him. The Skeleton King is too tall, as high as 100,000 meters. Just standing there, he can surpass the clouds in the sky. This force came from the earth, as if there were countless hands, pulling the Skeleton King to the ground. Skeleton King was pinned to the ground. The Skeleton King, who has reached the realm of the little god, is obviously stronger than Lin Moyu, and he tried his best to resist the pull of the ground. The Skeleton King raised his head, but he could only raise his head. At this time, the head is about 1,000 meters away from the ground, and it can no longer move. Kilometer altitude is the limit of Skeleton King. Then the Skeleton King's head gradually lowered. The lower the head was, the less pulling force it received. After some trials, Lin Moyu finally understood that the pulling force would suddenly increase every 100 meters here. In this 100-meter interval, the pulling force is constant. With his realm, he can only fly to about 100 meters. If it was changed to the second level of the God King, it is estimated that it would not even be able to fly 100 meters. At the first level of God King, you can only stand on the ground, and you can't even take off. If he relies on the physical body of the God King, although he cannot fly, he can jump to an area of about 300 meters, And the closer to the limit, affected by the pulling force, the movement of the whole person will slow down, it will become strenuous, and the combat power will be greatly reduced. In other words, only in the area below 100 meters can the strongest combat power be exerted. The Skeleton King could only lie on the ground because he was too tall. If you insist on getting up, your body may collapse under the action of pulling force. Looking towards the sky, it seems to see layer after layer of invisible barriers, covering the whole world. It seems that the way to leave is not to fly upwards. Lin Moyu muttered to himself, the reason why he did this was to find a way to leave and leave a retreat for himself. Obviously, the way to leave is not to lift off, but there must be another way. After a short test, he has determined that this place has similarities and differences with the Lust Desert and ancient tombs. The same thing is that they all have a boundless atmosphere, and after countless years, they should all be related to the ancient times. The difference is that there is no breath of the big world here, nor is it in the battlefield, it is an independent world. Even the law has changed, here the law is extremely thin, as long as the law is used, the consumption of oneself will be greatly increased, and it is difficult to be replenished. But this doesn't matter to Lin Moyu, the talent tree is the largest supply warehouse. With a thought, the Skeleton King lying on the ground raised his bone sword with one hand and smashed it on the ground with all his strength. Although he didn't use any technique, his posture was wrong, and he couldn't exert his full strength. Considering the combat strength of the Skeleton King, this sword is even better than the full-strength strike of the 9th level God King. The ground shook slightly, and a small crack appeared. The crack is only as thick as a finger, no longer than 1 meter in length, and only about 10 centimeters deep. The Skeleton King's sword is enough to cut through stars, but it can only leave such a crack on the ground. The power of the Skeleton King itself is not limited, all because the land is too strong. Lin Moyu feels that the solidity of the earth is comparable to the material of the gods, second only to the black material in ancient tombs and mysterious manners. Judging from the strength of the land, the level here is very high. If you encounter an enemy, I am afraid that the strength will be very strong. Similarly, if there is a curse here, then the power of the curse will be extremely strong. I don't know if my passive trapping method can work. Lin Moyu is very clear that although passive techniques are magical, they also have limits. If the attack encountered is too strong, it will also lose its effect. Put away the useless Skeleton King and summon the Emperor Warrior. Here, Skeletron has lost its role. It can't be said that it is completely useless. If necessary, it can also be summoned to suppress the enemy. It is real suppression, relying on a huge body to suppress the enemy. More than 1 million skeleton god fighters spread out, centered on Lin Moyu, and rushed in all directions. In the case of unknown whereabouts, Lin Moyu still uses the oldest and most practical routine, and let the skeletons find the way for him. Lightspeed Lich sits on Lin Moyu's shoulders as God Warrior, provides spell support. The skeleton God Warriors turned into streamers one after another, but their speed was not as fast as in the big world. Here, the speed of Light Lich's ability is greatly suppressed, and the speed is only 1% of normal. The skeletons ran farther and farther, and a map had been generated in Lin Moyu's mind. The mysterious veil of this land is gradually revealed. The Lightspeed Lich's abilities were limited, and Lin Moyu soon knew why. The ability of a Lich depends on the law, and the speed of Light monster naturally also depends on the law of the speed of light. In this world right now, the aura of law is extremely weak. Although it cannot be said that there is no laws at all, compared to the big world, there are very few. Not only is it difficult to supplement, but the effect is also greatly reduced. The skeletons used the melting light, and indeed turned into a streamer, but the speed was only 1% of the usual speed. It can only travel 1,500 kilometers per second. Lin Moyu can only hope that this world is not too big, otherwise, the speed seems to be very fast, but it is actually a drop in the bucket. He has become accustomed to the distance scale in the big world, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of kilometers, and even measured in light years. In the face of this distance scale, 1,500 kilometers per second is no different from a snail crawling. The world is dark, and the land is solid and flat, looking like a huge plain. There is no grass here, and there seems to be no life. In the vision of the undead, there is no soul fire. Half an hour later, the skeletons had already traveled nearly 3 million kilometers. Lin Moyu finally saw something else. It was a giant bone flower about 50 meters high. It hadn't bloomed yet, and it seemed to be dead. The huge leaves have withered, and the soul fire cannot be seen in the vision of the undead. The vision of the undead is only gray and white, and the true color of the flower bone cannot be seen. Half an hour later, Lin Moyu came to it and looked at it carefully. The flower buds are bloody red, which is a very stunning color. Lin Moyu felt the traces of time from its body. Even though it is dead, it still retains its bright colors, unchanged, for countless years. The rhizome of the flower goes deep into the ground bone, and its ability to take root and sprout on such a solid earth has proved its extraordinary. It was about to bloom, but suddenly it died. There is no injury on the surface, but the soul is obliterated. Obviously that force is very powerful. I don't know what level the flower bone is. Lin Moyu didn't need to guess wildly. A ball of undead flame popped out from his fingers. The undead flame landed on the flower bone and began to burn blazingly. On the solid and vast ground, a group of gray flames with a height of 50 meters appeared. Suddenly there was a wind blowing all around, whistling, blowing on the undead flame, pulling the flame out of a long thin line. There was movement in Waguduo, which is the flower, and the soul began to be reborn. It stretched in the flames, slowly retracted, wrapping itself tighter. What is going on now is what it was doing before it died. Lin Moyu found that his judgment was wrong. The flower bud in front of him was not about to bloom, but was closing. It's just that before it was fully retracted, it was attacked and its soul was obliterated. A huge mass of soul fire appeared in the sight of the undead, and the flame became more and more vigorous, and quickly reached the state of the God King, and then broke through the God King and reached the God Venerable. This flower was in the realm of gods before, when it was alive. Lin Moyu was shocked, as if confirming his previous guess. He guessed from the beginning that the creatures here would be very strong, but he didn't expect to sleep so angrily. Any flower is the realm of gods. Immediately afterwards, his expression completely changed. The soul of the flower is still getting stronger, and it doesn't mean to stop at all. The fire of the soul began to step into the category of high-level gods, but it continued to grow stronger. Lin Moyu has seen Zhu Qiwu's soul fire and knows what the soul flame at the peak of the god is like. Now the soul of this unknown flower has reached the same level as Zhu Qiwu. But it has continued to get stronger and shows no signs of stopping. A warning came from his soul. Lin Moyu felt something was wrong and instinctively retreated, tens of thousands of kilometers away. The soul fire suddenly grew in size, officially breaking through the limit of the divine realm. A stunning purple light appeared in the originally golden soul flame, and a noble and mysterious aura filled the air. Lin Moyu's eyes were filled with shock. It's not the divine realm, it's the other side. A flower turned out to be in existence that had stepped onto the other side. The power of this world was unimaginable. Waguduo was resurrected, but it did not crawl in front of Lin Moyu. On the surface, because it is a flower, it does not have the ability to crawl. But as the person involved, Lin Moyu didn't feel this way. He felt that the soul and will of the flower were fighting against the resurrection of the dead. It doesn't want to crawl. How can a powerful existence on the other side crawl in front of a god king? This was Lin Moyu's first time encountering this kind of thing, and he couldn't help but feel wary. He discovered the limit of resurrection of the dead. All spells have their limits, and the limit of resurrection of the dead should be the divine Lord. It is not a problem for the resurrected God to control the God. If there is a being above the resurrected God, it can indeed be resurrected, but it is difficult to control it. How powerful is the will of this existence? How can it be easily controlled? The best example is right in front of you. The confrontation between Waguduo and the spell is becoming more and more intense. Lin Moyu suddenly felt that he was locked, and a wave of malice enveloped his soul. When Huagudwa was fighting against the spell, he was distracted and locked onto himself. It's going to kill me. The wings of the undead opened instinctively, instantly cutting off the soul lock, and at the same time, the body turned into a stream of light and retreated. Just after exiting less than 1,000 kilometers, a layer of dark blue light suddenly lit up above our heads. Lin Moyu felt his whole body sink, his soul was buzzing, his thoughts became chaotic, and all his awareness of the surroundings disappeared. A feeling of loneliness burst out from the depths of his soul. Lin Moyu felt hopeless in life and had the urge to commit suicide. This emotion comes from the depths of the soul and is uncontrollable and irrepressible. No, that's not what I really think. Control it, must control it. Fortunately, this emotion only lasted less than half a second before bursting like a bubble, leaving no trace of cure. Lin Moyu also broke free from loneliness and hopelessness, and his thoughts returned to normal. His face was pale and his body was exhausted, and he was gasping for air. He knew that state immunity played a role, but state immunity could not provide true immunity in the face of curse attacks that transcended the divine level. At least in that half-second Lin Moyu had the idea of suicide countless times. Fortunately, his soul quality is high enough and his defense is strong enough. Otherwise, he would have blew himself up at least once now. Talent can still save him, but it's still dangerous enough. If this curse power lasts for more than 3 seconds, he may be really in danger. 3 seconds is enough for him to self-destruct 3 times, and his talent is useless. At this time, a sharp scream suddenly sounded in his ears, and Huagudwa, who was fighting the resurrection of the dead spell, suddenly trembled all over, and then it exploded like fireworks, exploding to pieces. From rhizomes to petals, everything turns into powder and dissipates between heaven and earth. Resurrection of the dead turned Waguduo into a resurrected person, but failed to control it. In the fierce confrontation between the two, its soul completely collapsed and it died completely. Lin Moyu breathed a sigh of relief. It was really too dangerous just now. With a wry smile, I almost played myself to death. If he really died just now, it would be by his own hands. Killing yourself, it's really funny to say it.